Hey there. So let's start this video with a question. Okay. Are you constantly wondering why the love that you truly want and you desire isn't showing up in your life? This question isn't really about, implying that you are lacking or you're actually doing something wrong or there's something wrong with you, because I think sometimes it can trigger those kind of thoughts. Instead, it's actually an invitation to look at love from a different angle. Okay, love requires intentional preparation. It requires you to create the space for it in your life. Okay, this is what the video is going to be about. Sometimes we feel like we are ready for it just because we want it so deeply and we want a partner and stuff like that. But true readiness is about more than just desire, more than just about wanting it to materialize. It means actively actually creating room in your life for it. Okay, so think of it in this way. If we want something real and meaningful in your lives, or if you want something in your life, like you want a job, right? We have to set up the space where it can exist. We have to take the actions, we have to be in that right emotional and mental space where the thing can actually exist. Okay. This idea moves beyond the usual dating advice, okay, where people are kind of like telling you how to behave and like how you should be on dates and what you should say on dates and what you should text the guy, what you should text the girl. I'm not really interested in all of that because all of that can't really be successful, can't really happen if you're actually not in the right psychological, mental, spiritual, emotional space. Okay, so all this video is about opening up the possibility that creating space might be the missing step in attracting the kind of love that you are looking for, especially if you're limerent or you're very prone to romantic obsession. Creating space. So traditional dating advice tends to tell you how to attract people, how to meet people and everything else. But if you're not creating the energy, you're not creating the space, nobody can actually come in. Okay, no amount of attracting is going to help, because creating the space means letting go, okay, of old attachments, letting go of old beliefs, unhealed patterns, old stories and stuff like that no longer serve us. So only by making this space can we truly welcome in the love that we desire, one that is actually reciprocal and is actually fulfilling. Okay, so creating space means really making room for emotionally, mentally and energetically for what you actually truly desire in your life, whether it's love, it's career, it's moving to another country, personal growth. It's about clearing out anything that's actually taking up too much of space in our minds and our hearts and things that no longer serve us, so that it makes space for things that actually serve us. Okay, so I want to kind of talk about how this concept of space actually ties into limerence. So when we are consumed by someone who isn't reciprocating our feelings, we unknowingly block ourselves from attracting the kind of love that we truly desire, or we truly deserve. So when someone is fixated on an unrequited love, for example, they may be unconsciously feeling the emotional space that real love could occupy with thoughts, fantasies, and what ifs about someone who isn't truly available to them. Okay, so this emotional preoccupation can leave you actually blind to opportunities for healthier reciprocal love, because your energy is so caught up and so directed towards maintaining a one-sided attachment and obsession with a person who probably doesn't really know you if you're limerent for a celeb, or probably isn't really available for you because they're attached or married, or probably doesn't even like you. Okay, so imagine trying to pour fresh water into a glass that's already full. Okay, there's no room for the new fresh water. Okay, because when we allow ourselves to be consumed by someone who isn't reciprocating our feelings, it's like we are filling our emotional glass with stagnant water. Okay, we are unknowingly blocking the flow of something fresher, something real, and something that has the potential to actually nourish us and be reciprocal. Okay, so why do people actually then hold on to the past blocks? Okay, and why holding on to the past blocks actually blocks your new possibilities? So when you're holding on to the past, where there are past attachments, unrequited feelings, fantasies of getting together with someone who is unavailable, it can actually clutter our emotional space. So like a room that's filled with old furniture, when it when stuff is there, when you're holding onto all your old furniture, can you actually bring in new furniture? You can't. You don't have the space for it. So this is the same thing. So you're essentially blocking love, or you're blocking like attraction from coming into your life. So just like we will need to remove old furniture to bring in the old furniture, bring in new ones, we will also need to actually create a welcoming open space, okay, to release emotional attachments that actually no longer serve us, so we can actually bring in new, healthier attachments. So this like concept is very kind of similar to the analogy of like, decluttering like your space, right? Like, when you're clearing your room and stuff like that. So this metaphor actually emphasizes that, our inner world is like any other space. It's like any space in the room. It has its limits as well. So when our hearts and our minds are crowded with thoughts and feelings for someone that's unavailable, someone that we are very obsessed with that doesn't like us back, we unconsciously are keeping out new relationships that could actually truly fulfill us. Just as, we couldn't fill the room with items that we don't need because our old furniture is there, we can't really bring in love if you don't release the attachments that keep you emotionally stagnant. So by clearing out these lingering attachments, clearing out this, holding on to people that actually don't work for you anymore, we actually make room for relationships that can flourish and can actually bring you genuine joy into your life. So I want to kind of talk about limerence and how it actually acts or serves as emotional clutter in our lives. So limerence is actually, it can create significant mental and emotional clutter, because when we are so fixated on someone who doesn't reciprocate, our energy and our attention actually become very consumed by thoughts of that person. Okay, because limerence is more than just a crush. I think a lot of people think that limerence is a crush. It's not. It's a very intense focus and obsession on someone, and it often leads to like obsessing over minor details, obsessing over gestures, imagining that something is there when it's not, stuff like that. So this mental fixation, it takes up an enormous amount of space in our thoughts and our emotional landscape, and it makes it very challenging to connect with others who might be truly available and really interested in you. So limerence can act like a fog, okay, clouding our ability to actually see beyond the person that we are focused on, and it keeps our minds and hearts preoccupied with someone who might not even be aware of our feelings. Okay, it's actually really sad. So how does limerence then block real love? When we are caught in the emotional roller coaster of limerence, the ups and downs, the emotional turmoil, it actually dominates our lives. It leaves very little room for healthy relationships to actually grow. You might not even be aware of what a healthy relationship is if you are constantly obsessed with someone. Okay, so this emotional turbulence can make it very difficult to see people who are actually available and who are actually interested in you and want to get to know you, because our attention is so fixed elsewhere. So for real love to enter our lives, we will need stability, we'll need openness and an emotional presence, none of which are possible when our minds are so tied up in someone who isn't emotionally available to us. So limerence, besides that, also creates psychological and energetic clutter. Okay, so when we talk about limerence, it's easy to just focus on the emotional toll, the mental toll, right? Like constantly thinking on someone, having intrusive thoughts about a person, analyzing their every word or action, feeling emotionally dependent on them. But limerence doesn't just affect our thoughts. It actually creates this thing called energetic clutter. And a lot of people who are actually looking for real love are not finding it or not getting it because they have a lot of energetic clutter. And what do I mean by that? So when your emotional energy, okay, is wrapped up in someone who isn't truly a part of your life, you are essentially sending out a signal of emotional unavailability. Okay? Picture it like broadcasting a frequency. Okay, you're broadcasting a frequency out into the world, you're advertising, and if all your energy is tied to this one-sided connection, who isn't even reciprocating, is one-sided, right? You're actually signaling to potential partners that your emotional bandwidth is already taken. It's like, you're trying to tune into a radio station only to find static, or you find like slurred voices or stuff like that because another station is overpowering the signal and you can't get through. So the healthy relationship cannot get through because this emotional unavailability is kind of like completely clouding your frequency. So in essence, this limerent attachment, it acts as a block. So it prevents healthy relationships from forming because on an energetic level, there's no room for new connections to enter. It's not on the same frequency. Healthy connections, love, new connections, stuff like that, it's not on the same frequency as emotional unavailability because you have to be emotionally available for love to come in. Okay, so by releasing these attachments, you clear that energetic clutter and allow yourself to radiate a signal of openness, of availability, and readiness for true reciprocal love. Okay, and so then how would you actually recognize if you're not creating space? Okay, so here are some questions, okay, that can actually help you to assess whether you are genuinely creating space for love. Some examples: are you still emotionally attached to someone who isn't reciprocating your feelings? Do you spend more time thinking about a person's potential than focusing on what you want in a relationship? Are you using this person or fantasy as a distraction from working on your own healing? How much energy are you giving to someone who isn't available, and what could you do with that energy if it were focused on yourself? So these questions actually encourage honest self-reflection and also help you to recognize whether you are truly open to new love or still caught up in past attachments. Okay, so each question actually asks you to evaluate where your emotional energy is. It highlights any attachment that you have to someone, and it really kind of, gets you to dive deep into whether you are actually even like available or whether you even want a relationship. Okay, because when we reflect on our, mental, the time that we spend on what we are thinking of, the mental energy we're giving to someone who isn't reciprocating, we start to see how we are holding ourselves back. So shifting that energy inward toward our own healing and growth actually creates a foundation for love that's grounded in self-worth rather than in need. Okay, so some of the signs that you're not actually creating space, let's talk about it. Okay, some of the signs that might indicate that you're not actually creating space for healthy love to enter your life. Sometimes you don't realize it or you're not very aware of it. So one sign is that you're actually fantasizing about someone who is actually not available. And what do I mean by that? When not available can actually mean that they are in a relationship, they are married, so or they don't like you. So not emotionally available, or they are in another country. So not physically available, like a celebrity as well is not available for you. So when you constantly daydream about a person who's out of reach, okay, we are actually spending emotional connection on an energy that doesn't exist, spending emotional energy on a connection that doesn't exist in reality. And this habit of like filling in the blanks with fantasies actually creates an emotional attachment to someone who in truth isn't available to us and is actually taking up space where real love could actually grow. Another very common behavior is overanalyzing messages or interactions. Okay, so if you find yourself dissecting every word, every text, looking for hidden meanings, it's a strong sign that your energy is actually tied to someone else's responses rather than focused on building your own happiness and security. Okay, so this type of behavior keeps us on an emotional roller coaster. It keeps us also invested in small signals that may or may not mean anything at all. And then there's also basing your self-worth on someone else's approval and attention. So this happens when we feel validated only when a specific person pays attention to us, compliments us, or shows us some sign of interest. So by letting our self-worth hinge on someone else's acknowledgement, we lose touch with our own inner sense of value, making it harder to attract a partner who genuinely respects and values us. Okay, so these behaviors may seem harmless, but together they can act as blocks to real healthy connections. And to create space for love that's mutual, that's fulfilling, it's actually crucial to recognize these signs and to start shifting your energy back to yourself. Okay, so how do we then start letting go of that fantasy to create a space for us? So to truly attract real, lasting love, one of the most important steps in actually letting go of the fantasy of the person who isn't available is, when we hold on to their idealized version, we need to keep telling ourselves and anchoring ourselves back into reality and keep reminding ourselves that the relationship doesn't exist. The person is not in our lives. Okay? It's this emotional attachment and this fantasy which actually keeps you stuck in your place. And you keep hoping that something might happen or, like one fine day your fantasy might become reality. But it actually is preventing you and blocking you from, opening up to healthy connections. So think about it like this. When you hold on to the fantasy of someone who is like, unavailable, it's like clinging onto like a mirage. You're clinging onto like smoke. Because it like looks real from a distance, but the closer you get to it, the more it actually fades away and the more it actually fades away from your hands. Real love is very grounded. It's mutual, it's fulfilling. And to invite that into your life, you will have to be able to willing to release the attachments that keep you from chasing something that is completely out of your reach. So letting go of this fantasy isn't about like, abandoning hope or giving up on love. It's not about love when it's not reciprocal, and it's not love when the person is not available for you. Okay, it's about choosing to actually make room for a relationship that truly exists in reality. So a connection that's as available and open to you as you are to it. So by releasing the emotional attachment to someone who can't fully meet you, you are creating a clear, open space in your heart for the love that you genuinely deserve. So shifting your energy from obsession to growth. Okay, so some of the practical steps, okay, for letting go, okay, some of the steps here, you can come up with your own. First one is to set mental boundaries. Okay, limit the time that you allow yourself to think about this person. And your thoughts actually feed your fantasy. So when you actually put a stop to that, you actually also prevent yourself from thinking too much about a person. And going down the rabbit hole of obsession. And second thing is to journal about what you truly want. So write down the qualities of a fulfilling relationship to refocus on your desires. And sometimes, think about the person that you're obsessed with that is not reciprocating. Compare that, whatever you have there, to the qualities, of a fulfilling relationship. Is it the same? It most likely isn't. So you're most likely not getting what you actually want from a relationship from obsessing over this person. Another thing to actually be mindful about to actually introduce into your life as a form of a self-care practice is energy clearing exercises. So simple things like deep breathing, breath work, visualizations, guided meditations that can actually help you to center yourself a little bit more and to cleanse your energy centers. Okay, we all have energy centers in our bodies, and it all works together to affect how we feel. Or if you feel that you really need help, do reach out to me. Okay, I do have one-on-one therapy sessions, or work with a professional therapist for support. Okay, another way of like clearing out, there's so many ways of clearing out emotional baggage. So there are like, if you're more spiritual, there are such things like cord cutting rituals to remove that kind of connection that you have with the person, to heal your heart chakras and stuff like that. Okay, these practices, right, all of these things, or you can just journal your feelings, and all of these practices don't actually erase your memories or your feelings, but they actually help you to reclaim your energy. They help you to reclaim your sense of self and to prepare your heart for new fulfilling relationships. Okay, another one I wanted to point out is also to learn how to focus on yourself, your sense of self, and practice self-worth and self-love. Okay, so self-love, a lot of us struggle with self-love. We don't really know what that actually means or how to actually love ourselves. Okay, self-love is a lot of stuff. It's loving yourself, it's taking care of yourself, it's investing in your own well-being, your own happiness. And you can't possibly be very, very happy if you are fantasizing about someone that is actually not available for you, So when you're doing all of that, you won't be able to attract someone who reflects that love and respect back to you. Okay, and building self-worth as well is something that I want to talk about, because self-worth is so important in attracting a compatible partner, because it's all about the energy that you give out, the attraction kind of energy. So people with very strong self-worth and self-assuredness, they are able to set very clear boundaries, they can recognize red flags, they are less likely to settle for less than they deserve. Okay, so developing self-worth, I would say that is one of the very key things when you want to attract someone that that actually matches your qualities in a relationship and then matches what you actually desire. Because self-worth is like, setting the emotional foundation for a healthy relationship. So when we understand and value our own needs, we are better equipped to set boundaries and to recognize when something isn't right. Okay, it's like this, this personal internal barometer that you actually have. It means having the strength to walk away from relationships that actually don't serve us, and the clarity to see when someone can genuinely meet us at our level. Self-worth is like an internal compass, like I said, guiding us towards connections that honor our well-being and away from one-sided or emotionally unfulfilling relationships. So some practical self-worth exercises, and you can think of more, I'm sure. Affirmations. Affirmations I used to think are like so stupid, and I was just like, why would people actually talk to themselves in the mirror and stuff like that, but they have worked wonders for me. Okay, it's introducing affirmations into my life has actually made me very, very confident, because when you start to affirm something that, you start to act like that. When you start to act like that, you start to like, hey, I actually am pretty amazing, so affirmations actually help. Do have affirmations that reinforce your self-value. So for example, like, I'm deserving of love that respects and values me, for example. Have a self-care routine. Okay, the importance of self-care, I cannot emphasize it further, because a lot of people think like, oh, self-care is like doing like yoga and like meditation for like 3 hours every morning, and taking like a cold shower, and having like a juice detox, and then like having like cereal and multi-grain whatever for like lunch. It's not. Self-care is basically just whatever you define caring for yourself is. It could be just, having like wine for 15 minutes before bed. It could be having like warm glass of milk when you come back. It could be just like sitting on your sofa and just like thinking of nothing and doing nothing after you come back from work. That's self-care as well. And having it as a routine, it's a sign that you're actually committing to yourself, that you want to actually treat yourself with kindness and compassion every single day. So do have a self-care routine or a habit build up for yourself. All of us, our routines actually look very different. So do something that actually works for you. The third thing I want to actually talk about is the investment in passions and goals. Channel your energy, or channel the obsession, the stuff that you're always kind of focused on the other person, right? Channel the energy that is focused on the unavailable person onto your own projects, your hobbies, and your goals, because I'm pretty sure you have tons of that. So take those, start incorporating into your life, and see what happens. Okay, so once you have done all of that, and once you've done all that self-care, self-worth, start to create boundaries and stuff like that, once your space is actually created, true love can then enter. Okay, so by letting go of old attachments, we are energetically signaling that we are open to new fulfilling connections. Just like clearing out physical clutter, we now, are able to like move out the old furniture and bring the new furniture in. It's like we are telling the universe, I'm ready to receive the love that I truly want and I desire. Okay, and some practical steps that you can actually take to start to kind of open up a little bit more to that whole social thing and socializing with other people and going on dates and stuff like that. One of the things I like to recommend people is actually to join social groups and communities where you can meet people with shared interests, and I've actually made a lot of very, very interesting connections and made very wonderful friends as well, just from attending a random like book club session. You just never know who you'll meet, and you never know who you're going to click with. And even if you go there, and you don't meet anybody and you don't click with anybody, it's okay, because you're putting yourself out there. And when you put yourself out there, the opportunities will come to you, because your healthy love, or the love that you desire, is not going to come knocking on your door and introducing themselves. You have to go out and, by serendipitous, interactions, you guys meet. It's also knowing when you start falling back into your old ways, and setting very clear boundaries with yourself, so you don't actually kind of spiral into that obsessive like pattern again, because it's very easy to do so. And as someone who used to be limerent, and who is completely like done with that kind of life now, setting very clear boundaries is very important. Being very self-aware when you actually fall down into that rabbit hole, how to actually get out of it. So true love, I want to say, flows when we are emotionally open and receptive without trying to control the outcome. So instead of forcing a connection with someone unavailable or holding onto a fantasy, being open actually means we allow love to find us organically. It's about trusting that the right connection will come when we are ready, and we don't need to rely on like fantasy or wishful thinking or projections or obsessions for that to come true. Okay, so by embracing openness, we attract love that is real, grounded, and aligned with our true selves. And I like to actually tell people that I work with, and my clients as well, that treat love like how you treat a butterfly that lands on your hand. When a butterfly, I'm not sure if you have ever had that experience before, but if a butterfly lands on your hand, you don't go and like try and catch it, right? You just allow it to stay there. I hope you're not like trying to kill it or something. You allow it to actually stay there. and you just observe its beauty, right? You just kind of wait and see what it's going to do. And then when it wants to fly off, you let it fly off. You don't try to like, grab a net and try to catch it or something. So true love is the same. When you put yourself out there, like I said, go to all those things that you actually do, the things you love to do, and join all the social groups and stuff, and go and meet people. When you do all those stuff, you start to meet people, and it start to come into your life. And when it comes to your life, don't try to be like, obsessive or try to hang on to the person. But if it's meant for you, it will stay. And if it's not, it's okay. There are many people, life is very long. Life is short, but also very long. So it doesn't mean that the person that you are with, I know this sounds a bit morbid, it doesn't mean that the person that you're with now is going to be with you forever. Although, of course, if you're partnered, you're married, you do want that to be a forever thing. But life is very unpredictable, and life is very long. So, someone that you're with now might not be someone that you're with 5 years from now. You might think that you have been like solo, single, like your entire life, and then next year you're married. You never know. Okay. The key is to really be very open to what life actually brings to you, and to also, when you're in love, just, put your heart and soul into it. Okay. So just to kind of close off this message, do remember, to attract a healthy reciprocal love, especially if you're limerent right now for someone, is to actually create a space for it. So if you're constantly clinging on to someone, it's time to let that person go. It's time to stop obsessing. You clear out the emotional and the energetic clutter. You start to, create space for that new furniture, start to create space for that new love to come into your life. Okay, remember also that for limerent people, I know sometimes it's very hard for you to believe this, but remember that you're worthy of a relationship that is very grounded, that is mutual, and that is fulfilling. Okay, so I've come to the end of this video, and if you have actually found it helpful, I would like for you to actually leave a comment down below, if you'd like to share your experience, or you can forward this as well onto someone who actually also needs this video. We all need the advice at certain times in our lives. I'm also linking like my personal therapy sessions down below in the description box. If you need to actually speak to someone, just DM me on Instagram. I have my book link down below as well on limerence, and there are all the strategies and everything that are covered in there as well. I have some workshops that are coming up in December. I'm really excited about it. I will also link them down in the description box when they are available. So I'm wishing you the very best. Remember to clear out clutter. Clutter is not good. We need to clear it out for new stuff to come in, and clear it out for love to come in. So I'm wishing you the very best, and I hope you enjoy your day wherever you are, and I'll be back again for with some more videos in the future. So this is Sonia signing out, and I will see you again in the next video.